The NBA trade deadline is looking like it's going to be very guard heavy. There's a lot of rumors pertaining to a lot of guards of varying cachet, of course, but there's a lot of guards that are out there in various trade rumors that we're going to talk about in today's video. But first, make sure you do subscribe to the Basketball Bulletin, where Trevor, Lane, and I keep you guys informed if you have not already. Let's get this video to a like goal of 500 likes, and let me know in the comments as well, which guard do you think is the most likely guard? Don't tell me some random, fourth guard in a rotation somewhere. That's a salary dump, but maybe one with some cachet, like Schröder was, right? So let me know in the comment section down below. Schröder's got to be the most likely, safest bet to get traded if I ever ask this question. I don't think he's going to get flipped again because he can't, but until the offseason. But Schröder's been traded I think a NBA's record, second place NBA record. That's not the record, but second place all time, I guess I should say, for lack of a better term there. Behind Trevor Ariza, these guys are getting passed around. So Schröder is a pretty safe bet. So we're going to talk about him a bit. Milwaukee Bucks want Tyler Hero and all of Miami's young players in exchange for Giannis. Yeah, that's what a trade for a guy like Giannis looks like. That's not a surprise. That's what a trade for a guy like Giannis looks like. It's pretty tricky unless Giannis comes out and says, hey, publicly, I only want to go here or to these few teams, right? There's been some, he likes this team, things like that. The Warriors are currently, per betting sites, the most likely destination for him, which I think is pretty interesting. There was some stuff about Draymond being okay with being in the trade and then coming back later, which can be done, I guess, if he waits enough time or something like that. Or actually, during the offseason, I think that rule just completely resets. You can go back to your team again. So pretty interesting stuff with that too. And Draymond does have a player option. He could decline. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, this is what a trade for Giannis looks like. I think teams are still wondering whether or not the Bucks are seriously interested in trading Giannis at this deadline. We're going to find out within the next couple of days here. Or if they're just trying to gauge interest, which is something that's been reported. We've had reports that they're just trying to see what's out there in the market, gauge the market, and then come back in the offseason. And if you're a team trying to trade for Giannis, especially if you're in one of his destinations, maybe he didn't list you as one of his favorite destinations, etc., but you really want to pull a trade for Giannis, you've got the best offer, etc., it would behoove you to try to get him sooner than later. So you've got the time now remaining in this season and the offseason going into next season to build around him, try to woo him on your team, your city, your organization, all that stuff, right? I still think they're going to work with him to get him to one of his preferred destinations, right? But ultimately, that's something that's got to be in discussion. For Milwaukee, while you want to do what's right by Giannis, you also got to do what's right by your franchise. And I don't think that can go understated. So we'll see what happens. But a trade for Giannis does look a lot like this, right? And it's up to the team that how much do you want him, right? That's buying. How much do you want him? Are you willing to give up these players? And for Miami, this is the thing that they've been waiting for. So why wouldn't they go all in? Now, you may say you want to obviously retain Tyler Hero to play with Giannis, and I would agree with that. But if you're getting a Giannis, that's the big domino, and you put the rest around after that, right? You figure the rest out after you get the guy in-house and then go from there. So anyway, moving on from that, we do have some Chris Paul stuff. So if you didn't know, Chris Paul actually was sent home. He was not actually ever just released or anything like that. So he's not a free agent. He is actually just in NBA purgatory right now. And what I mean by that is, I shouldn't say that. He's getting paid to sit home. But this was supposed to be his final season. He didn't want to sit home. He wanted to play, right? So ultimately, for one reason or another, he wasn't getting along with them. And there's been a lot of reporting, counter-reporting, but whatever. They sent him home. And so he is just somebody that's just sitting around, and they're hoping to trade him and use that money, right? Now, if they're not able to pull off a trade, one would surmise they will release him from the contract and go from there. But until the deadline, until that happens, he's just a member of the Clippers roster that, again, has been sent home. It's not playing. So Chris Paul is stuck on the Clippers as there has been no movement on the trade front for him per Ramona Shelburne. So that's just something to keep an eye on and to watch, of course, going forward as it pertains to that.
Ever hear the Sleeper app? Here's a little secret. It's more than just a platform for season-long fantasy leagues. This year, millions of users enjoyed playing fantasy sports on Sleeper, but the app offers so much more. Live stats, real-time updates, and visualizations on all stats. A news feed, this is so important for me. You can get lightning-fast updates on your favorite players and teams. A real-time chat to allow you to engage with other users about individual plays and performances during the NFL and NBA seasons. So Download the #1 sports app today. Experience it for yourself. When you use promo code Bulletin, you get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. And by the way, they do have a phenomenal promo going on right now as well. Free $20 entry. Go check that out. No deposit required. $20 entry for free. Go check them out. Use the link in the description down below, and that promo code is Bulletin.
So out of Sacramento today, we have a report on Dennis Schröder. Internally, Schröder, was viewed as the top target on the market, the #1 guy, in quotes. Sacramento believed could serve as a building block as the organization pushed towards sustained success. So they recently traded him out. And again, he's now on the second most teams in NBA history, or trades, I guess I should say. He's been traded the second most amount of times. Hard for me to explain that one in this video. And just on the surface, this seems like an insane statement, but also not insane coming from the Kings. So to give them some credit for a little bit of elaboration, Frankie here does have the excerpt from the actual article where free agency was embarking upon us. When free agency was embarking upon us, this was the #1 guy we felt in the league for us that was going to fit that bill and help us establish. He's a building block to us, establishing that sustainable success that we're striving to get, Perry said at Schröder's introductory press conference back in July. So a couple of things to unpack there. He said that at his press conference. Okay. That's obviously he's not going to say, oh, we could have got better guys, right? Second thing is he says for us, right? He was the top target for us, best guy for us. Well, yeah, because the top free agents are, quite simply put, not going to Sacramento right now. Maybe if they were a winning organization, maybe if they didn't have this track record of losing, these things matter, right? So frankly, Dennis he might have been their first signing. He was one of their first signings, especially, but he was one of the best possible guys they were going to get. It's just unfortunate that all turns into a salary dump situation. They must really love Hunter. I've said before, maybe the idea there was you get Hunter, then you flip him, because the Cavs paid a good amount for Hunter back, and maybe you hope to get something like that, right? Who knows? But for now, it's a shame that didn't work out. I thought it was always weird anyway, because they got some guards. They got him. They tried to bring Russ in. They waited the whole offseason to be able to bring Russ in basically as well. So just kind of a bit of clunkiness going on there. But regardless, Dennis was somebody they really had high targets on. He's now been traded. The only reason we're really talking about this is because this came out today as per Sacktown Sports. So moving on, D'Lo, somebody that has not played a game over the past month. Oh, excuse me. He's played in one game. My bad. One game over the past month. The Mavericks are exploring D'Angelo Russell trade options after removing him from the rotation per Mark Stein. I'm told that Dallas does not want to trade Najee or Christie, who arrived in Dallas alongside Davis, while continuing to explore potential moves involving Gafford, Thompson, and Russell. Okay, so a couple things on this. Najee's really good. He's not, I don't care how they try to spin it as him being part of their core, or this or that, or even Kyrie, being part of the core. The reality is these guys are just a little bit too old. It's the reality, right? Your other guys, Christie, Lively, of course. You've got some other younger guys on the team you're building up. Obviously, the #1 pick, who's insanely good. These are your real core guys, and they're the guys you're going to build ideally around for the next 10 years, right? The other guys are just bridge players, and that's perfectly fine, right? And so Najee is huge for this team. I can understand them wanting to hold on to him. But I think the goal there is to try to extract as much value out of Najee independently as you can. And so if you put out there that you're not trying to trade him, especially through Mark Stein, who is extremely plugged into Dallas specifically, then that just means that if a team really wants to come get him, they're going to have to pay a premium. And that's the type of gymnastics, these teams typically go through around this time with reporting, counter-reporting, etc. That's standard operating procedure there. Christie, though, I very much believe they don't want to trade. Like, I understand the Lakers got Luka back, but I really miss Christie on the Lakers. And I thought Christie was undervalued in that trade. Again, it's a Luka trade. So, like, I understand why Mavs fans would be like, oh, they only got XYZ. But Christie was easily worth a first-round pick. Easily. maybe not in today's climate, but in the last CBA, he's easily worth multiple first-round picks. Maybe just 2, maybe even bad ones, maybe 2 in a swap, But he's a very good player, and he's young. He's been on an upward trajectory. He's a nice player to keep, right? But again, not enough for Luka. Don't hear what I'm not saying. But yeah, for D'Lo, didn't work out, right? Didn't work out. I never really saw him fitting anyway. He's not so much the type of point guard they needed. They just needed more ball handling, but and they could certainly use the shooting, the playmaking from D'Lo. He is a good player, obviously. He's just not the type of player I think a lot of teams need, certainly as a starting guard, as he was projected to be. If he's going to be your 6th man, your first guard off the bench, things like that, then okay, he can do that. But I also think you need specific players around him as well. He would fit well in the switching scheme. He's got, a good wingspan, but you need other good switchy players around him. You need a good rim protector, things like that to help there. So I think, and then obviously he's very volatile. Like he can have really hot nights. He's just inconsistent, right? Really hot nights, really cold nights. But what I will tell you is they made a mistake. They should have been playing him this deadline because deadline D'Lo is a monster. They should have put him out there. and maybe a team would have been willing to bite on a trade for him. So they're surfacing, or they're canvassing the league for a trade for D'Lo. Not the most surprising thing, but I'm really curious to see if they're able to trade Thompson. Gafford is out there as somebody that they're also potentially trying to trade. No Laker fans, they're not going to trade him to the Lakers because I see that all the time. They're just not going to do it. If they do, that'd be great, but they're not going to. But I think they want to try to, obviously, like any team would, extract as much value out of these guys as possible. But again, Clay is interesting to me because he's really been struggling. He's been playing better. He started really poorly, but there are nights he just looks washed, frankly, to be completely honest. But he's been better recently, of course. But I'm really interested in what they do with him because the other guys are kind of inconsequential. For like D'Lo, for example, not really making much money, not really hurting you. You're just trying to get something back for him, right? Coby White. Colby? I was going to say Colby O'Donis. That's a deep cut. Coby White. Bulls are struggling to receive a first-round pick from teams interested in Coby White. So that is actually pretty interesting because Coby White profiles as the type of guy that you would expect for teams to be interested in trading for and potentially giving up a first. And this is where, like I said earlier with Max Christie, under the previous climate, these are deals that go down. But what we're seeing here is that in today's NBA, these first-round picks are premium currency. And what I mean by that is you need to have these first-round pick players coming in and being on these controlled salaries. And obviously, they're the better prospects between first and seconds generally. But you want to have these players coming in on these cost-controlled salaries. And if you're a competitive team, you can use these picks to trade out, obviously. But you're also very well off if you can get these guys, spend a couple years developing them, and then have them come up into rotation players. And maybe you wind up losing some of your older rotation guys, but these guys are ready to come in and fill in the missing void there. And so I think that as a result, these are very high value. And another reason why they're very high value, again, it's the CBA, the contract sizes, all this stuff. But another reason is because there's not very many to trade. A few teams have like a lot of the picks. Like we talk about OKC. What about Brooklyn? Right? Like some of these teams have a lot of picks. So you're pretty well off if you even just have your own picks, right? That's why we see a team like Milwaukee trying to get their own picks back. And so if you're trying to trade for him, that's one thing to consider here. Now, I just pulled up his salary. He is actually an unrestricted free agent as well. So that's another piece of this. I was pretty sure he was, but I wanted to confirm. So he's an unrestricted free agent for the 26-27 season. You trade for him, you are going to have to extend him. So what does that number look like? He may be wanting 20 plus. He may want something similar to Giddey, right? 20 million, 25. Maybe you'd be okay with that. Some teams would, I'm sure. That's another number that's really hard to get to. It's kind of hard to pay these guys between 20 to 40 million dollars. It's just kind of hard. Especially if you've got one, let alone two max guys. It's just kind of hard with the way that the CBA is set up now. That's just a simple reality. I think that those guys making that amount of money are mostly squeezed in today's NBA. So a lot of rosters are going to be 30 plus, a couple of guys, 2-3 guys, and then the rest of them are going to be like one MLE, then minimums. It's what it is. So that's kind of tricky. Unless, again, you've been able to keep your draft picks, draft well, you've got a number of smaller salaries that you can also have on your team. So, and then especially if you're a team like the Thunder, where you have these guys that exceed their contract value, and then eventually they get paid. But while they're on those lower numbers, you can make moves on the periphery. You can have a lot of these guys making that lower number. So it's pretty tricky. But overall, I'm sure a team would be interested in him. Maybe he's not going to get a first, but maybe he's a guy that gets multiple seconds, right? Multiple seconds, I do think, is certainly on the table, especially if they're like in the 30s. That's another thing, too. Like those players in the 30s are generally pretty good prospects. Really quick, teams are monitoring Donovan Mitchell's situation in Cleveland. Got to pull up his contract, but that's an interesting one, too. Basically saying teams are hedging whether or not Donovan will want to stay long term. Donovan Mitchell's contract is as follows. He's under contract for the next couple of seasons, so he's fine unless he asks out. He's under contract until the 27-28 season, in which he has a player option for $53 million. I'm not sure he's going to turn that down because I'm not sure he re-ups for much more than that. Maybe he gets that deal again. But anyway, yeah, teams are just keeping an eye on him. That's little food for thought. Nothing really crazy there. Not like he's out there, but they're basically, again, hedging against the Cavs. With them being so expensive, they're going to have to make some moves. Do they take a step back as a result? These are the things that teams are going to keep an eye on. So hopefully you enjoyed this video here on the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Check out Sleeper as well. We'll see you in the next video.